female entrepreneurs turned besties share on life, business, and the journey through the mess. Join their community with every new episode for connection, education, a few laughs, and the hype energy like a bathroom full of drunk girls at a bar. It's okay.
We're your friends now!
Hey guys, it's Ashleigh.
Hey y'all, it's Biz.
Hey, it's Katie. Welcome back. This one's super fun because I just saw Biz. So I'm like, I got so many hugs.
I'm
I
so
got to
Was
see
it
her in
me?
person.
Sorry.
So excited. It was so fun. It was such a unplanned thing too. It was like one day I was going about my business and the next day I was hugging Biz and eating po' boys.
Hey man, that's a beautiful life right there.
Really?
You're not wrong. I Ubered to Biz's house and she's like, put your suitcase down. We're going to Po' Boy Festival. And I was like, I have a lot of questions and need the answer to none. Yes, I will follow you there.
It was just so great. I was like, wait, I told Katie to take the taxi. Is that her getting out of that huge truck? Oh, how indicative. I love that.
Anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit about that trip, and I want to make a statement because this is the first time I think I'm going to put out on social media actually asking people to listen to the podcast. I know that we always say oh, new episode up, but I think I'm going to actually ask people to listen to this. So men, women, whoever, you will hear us talk about Taylor Swift, and I want to encourage you to not roll your eyes and stop listening just because we're talking about her. I don't care if you're not a fan of hers. I want you to hear the underlying message that goes through this. So don't turn it off just because we talk about Taylor.
Amen.
That's all. And that was so weird because we usually never address the listeners.
Look at us all grown up now. We know there's people out there. Oh, Katie found someone going to Antarctica.
I did.
Yes, everyone, all of our
Antarctica.
listeners at home. That's the most important update when I think about everybody. Is y'all invested like me. It's coming, y'all. Spoiler alert. Okay, sorry.
I'm very excited. January, we'll have our last continent checked off. Okay, so yes, I went to New Orleans because Biz called me and said, I have an extra ticket to Taylor Swift tomorrow. If you can get yourself here, it's yours. And I said, say less. I will be there. And fortunately, I have a very wonderful husband who absolutely was like, yes, go. There was just and so I want to preface this with I am not one of those girls who grew up a Swiftie, who's always been a Swiftie, who's been part of the whole movement. I will say earlier this year I kind of started paying attention. I think it's one of those things obviously I've known her songs or the popular ones, and might not turn them off, but haven't been a huge self-proclaimed fan. Earlier this year, I started paying attention because I was just really impressed by, she's in her 30s. She became a billionaire, largely due to her real estate portfolio. It's not all her music, obviously, that has a huge portion of it. She has re-recorded all of her music while putting on one of the largest tours in the history of the world, wrote and recorded and produced a new album, all while going through extreme heartbreak and then nurturing a new relationship. And I kind of was like, okay, thinking about one of those things makes me really tired. So this is really impressive that she's doing this. And I started paying a little bit more attention. And the Eras tour, as you watch it unfold on social media and stuff, last week I looked at Brett and I said, there's not many things in life that I actually genuinely regret. And I think I'm about to regret not going to the Eras tour and experiencing it. And I'm Biz, forever grateful that you invited me because it's so much more than her music, because I stand very strongly um opposed to like celebrity worship. I just don't I everybody's human and like but there is a lot of respect and intrigue. And so I want to talk about the experience and kind of what it opened my eyes to a little bit. So people criticize the Swifties a lot. I think it's one of the most common things that like people roll their eyes, or they love to hate on her, or they love to hate on her like being at the NFL games or getting screen time, which by the way is like not her fault, or her breakups or whatever it is. They love to criticize her and they love to criticize the Swifties, her following. Um and looking around at her show, it was so incredible to see there were like young girls there all the way up to like, I don't know, 80 plus,
Mm-hmm.
like really into it. And if you look at her music, listen to her music, digest her lyrics, what you see is a woman who has taken the most raw and vulnerable parts of her life and put it out there for public display, which obviously comes with like a lot of harsh criticism. Um, but she's made a lot of women feel really seen and heard, and just really validated, I think is probably like the right word. Um, and it was really something to watch, like, as this show went on, which, by the way, that in of itself, like, it's a 3.5 hour show. She does 46 songs. Like, I was in the
Yeah.
audience and was, like, in pain for several days. I don't know how she gets up and does it, like, over and over again.
In Louboutin boots, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
Multiple pairs
Um,
of Louis Vuitton boots.
yeah.
Just saying.
But it was, like, so incredible to watch each of the people in the audience like connect with something, whether it was like a memory attached to a song or one that really meant something to them, and kind of watch like as the concert unfolded, so did people and their openness, and you could see like what meant what to who. And at the beginning of it, she does this little like welcome speech, and she talks about how a lot of people have heard these songs over and over for years, and they may mean something to them, or the songs might remind them of an event or a time when a song helped somebody through an event, or it might be tied to a memory with another person. And she encouraged everybody to embrace creating the new memory at the show, so that all of them were replaced with like basically having a dance party with 65,000 friends.
Mm.
And I took that to heart because it made me think about all the things that I've really focused on reclaiming recently.
Yeah.
So like last year when I went to Paris, growing up, that was always a trip that my mom and I said that we would take. Um, and I went with a friend and like reclaimed that memory and that meaning and all of that for myself. And so it was really cool to watch people really take that to heart and like create new memories to tie to songs and create new meanings to tie to songs. And so I decided to do the same. And like, no matter what a song had meant to me before or what memory was tied to it, I decided to replace them all with the things that I saw there. And um, I've been on the verge of tears this whole time, and it's gonna come through now. I have 2 favorite moments. Um, and the first one was before the concert even started, and we were walking up, and there were just all these people decked out in their outfits, and it was, like, such a cool sight to see all these people feeling so confident and dressed in something that they thought was, like, so fun or so special. And not only did we observe so much kindness as people were like aggressively shouting compliments to each other, and trading friendship bracelets and like just celebrating the fact that they were there. The thing that stood out the most to me was like when I complimented people on their outfits or how they looked or like their vibe or whatever, they accepted it. Um, there was none of the typical like, "Oh, thanks, but I feel really fat," or, "Oh, thanks, but I wish this and this." There was absolutely no pushback. They truly, for those couple hours, believed that they were as beautiful as other people said. And it was like the coolest thing to observe. Um, and then my second favorite part was, again, with her saying, like, reclaim the memories. There was a point in the show where I had almost one of those like out of body experiences where I was watching myself enjoy something. And I've been to a lot of concerts. I love live music. Like, I just really think that music is such an important thing. Um, and I never just like let myself be free and dance and like celebrate and just like be in the moment. Um, and Biz can attest to the fact that I was like, like I
Yeah,
was in
you
a room
were. It was
all on my
beautiful.
own.
It was
Um,
beautiful.
and I've never done that before, because I've never felt the freedom to. And I had this thought of like so many things that I did in my life and have done in my life were done with the feeling of like, what will be thought of me, or like how will I be criticized, and not even by other people. Most of it comes from one person. um and it's like, will this be good enough? Will I show up well enough for this? And like the time that we were there, all 65,000 people were good enough as they were, and it was just like true magic that happened when you experience that. And a lot of people gathering together believing that they're good enough and the person next to them is good enough, and just um I don't know, it was just like really powerful. And that sounds like such a dumb thing to be like, I'm so happy I danced at a concert, but like I've never felt so free and like able to just do the thing that I wanted to do without thinking about it. And so of course, this all got me thinking of like, okay, what makes it so that people feel so safe in this environment to believe that they're beautiful and to go out of their way to be kind to strangers, and to make sure that everybody else feels as good as they feel, and like truly embrace just, I want to say girlhood, but there were also like a lot of dudes there who were having the time of their life. So I don't even know if it's that. Um, and so I like my journaling about it actually turned into like a thank you note to Taylor Swift, which is like absolutely ridiculous. And also it's the only way I knew how to express it. But like I just can't stop thinking about the beauty of human connection when we all believe that we're worthy of love, and like being willing to accept that. And it was like the most beautiful example of assume positive intent and like encourage other people and be kind. And I just like I would live for that moment over and over and over. Like very strongly considering flying to one of the Canadian shows, even if I don't have tickets, and just experiencing outside the concert again. um uh so anyways, I've been riding that high for a while, and really doing like some deep thoughts about it. I'm actually getting a tattoo again, not as like a Taylor Swift fan or a Swiftie, but I'm getting a tattoo to like signify that show as a reminder to myself to work towards being that kind of environment for people. Like, how can I constantly create this environment where people feel safe and celebrated and loved and open to accepting love? Um, and then like riding that high and coming home. And this is okay, so long rant over. Sorry, and thank you for letting me just word vomit. Um, the important thing about this, in my opinion, is that so many people roll their eyes about Swifties. And I want men, especially, because y'all do it more than women. When you roll your eyes at somebody being a fan of hers, you're rolling your eyes at that entire experience, and you are invalidating what takes us so long to work up to believe the best in ourselves and believe that we're worthy of feeling beautiful and loved and celebrated. And you are calling that entire environment and experience stupid. And I don't think that anybody on here would look at their wife or daughter or friend or mother and tell them you don't deserve to feel that way. You don't deserve to feel validated and heard. And yet, when you do that, that's exactly what you're doing. And it's dangerous for many reasons. It's also, sorry, stupid. I don't care what your musical tastes are. You don't have to like her songs, her music, or anything. But let me remind you that most of you allow men who don't know your names to dictate your moods for an entire weekend, and you call it fantasy football. Um, so let us enjoy this moment where we get to celebrate feeling the way that we know we should, but we're very often not able to. But it's dangerous because men throughout history have had the louder voices. And the news that came out after I came home about the Taliban banning women from hearing other women's voices, like every time that you turn down a woman the experience to feel validated or feel celebrated, you're taking us one step closer to that. And like, as incredible as the Eras tour was, I am equally heartbroken for the fact that like I just experienced this massive example of human connection, and somehow in the same world on the same earth where we all live, women got like the last scrap of that they had taken away from them. And I hate it. Anyways, and rant, somebody else talk, since I've talked for who knows, 20 minutes at this point.
Well, so you and Biz got to go to the Eras tour together,
Yep.
with Biz's daughter,
Yeah.
who is like the perfect age for
Yeah.
the Eras tour, like peak age for it. Like she can remember it, she could enjoy it. She's like right in her Swiftie era. I got to go to the Eras tour when it was still pretty new, and I brought my daughter, who was out of her Swiftie main phase. Like she used to be super into Taylor Swift. She still
Yeah.
like appreciated her music, but she wasn't into her newer stuff and things like that. So it was kind of a different, it's almost like Katie, what you're saying, where when you go to the Eras tour, not exactly as a Swiftie, I think that you kind of can appreciate that environment and the lack of it in other places so much more,
Yeah.
because so many people were there, like you said, because of the music, because of Taylor Swift. And they're very engrossed in that portion of the experience. Not to say they don't notice the rest, but their priorities might be different of what they remember and of what they experienced.
Yep.
Whereas when you're just soaking in this, like, whoa, what is it that's missing from the rest of my life and my world, that this environment is so different?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is just what is centered and what is important in that moment. A lot of concerts, the outfits are centered around what is society going to deem attractive and stylish. Whereas Eras Tour was almost like, what's the most outlandish outfit I can put together within my budget and like the time that I have? And so it's a very different way of what you're centering. And I don't know that it's necessarily like, oh, the patriarchy or men. I think it is a general undertone of society and how society wants women to stay dissatisfied and to stay in competition, because that's how they make money. It's really, really easy to sell stuff to women that think they're not good enough. It's a lot harder to sell stuff to a woman who knows she is.
Oh,
Yeah. I just gotta say, I just gotta share a little bit. Sorry. Excuse me, y'all. So how I came about those tickets, those are actually Liv's birthday present. So I got to give them to her for her birthday, which was such a gift in itself. But they were through my original older, wiser woman friend that I had when I first moved to Houston. And I just gotta like take a minute to talk about her, because as much as we talk about on this podcast, like those who have come before us and blaze trails and whatnot, I realized that how much of a role model she was to me before I even had the vocabulary that people like Diana Kokoska taught us. Um, and so it was really cool for me to be able to experience that with her there and to live there, and then my best friend Katie there, all at once. And it was really just beautiful. So I definitely, echo what you said, Katie. The environment is just amazing. Plus, I mean, New Orleans just radiates that energy on its own. And so, I mean, it just, you throw that together. I mean, that's a really great pot of gumbo you just made.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, that was the other thing too. Like the city, before people started showing up, all of the locals were honestly kind of like making fun of all of the events that were being made. And then, I mean, not to like deflate it, but there's totally a woman that's being sued. If y'all haven't seen that, because she like ran this huge scam. Did you
Oh my
see?
gosh, yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's crazy.
insane. So
Yeah.
like it is like New Orleans showed up too. It's true. But like it was wild, just the attitude of how quickly it changed. And everybody's like very happy with everyone who came and whatnot. So I just gotta say, I mean, like, thank you for saying yes, Katie. It was really kind of funny whenever they were like, wait, she's in Philadelphia. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. She'll be here. Don't worry about it. It's fine. That's like literally within 24 hours notice. Like, I don't know. I think it was like, God, I think you probably landed in New Orleans with 12 hours notice, come to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
And
sure they
Biden
took
was
the
in
flight,
Philly.
went to
That's
bed,
what's
woke up
like
and
even more
left.
impressive. Like the airport was shut down.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah.
how you did it.
I don't either. It's fine. It happened.
Ta-da!
Um, you bring up such a good point though, like New Orleans, and I'd encourage anybody, if you don't believe what I say or what Biz says about like this specific one, go on TikTok and watch some videos of the locals. New Orleans showed up, so there were so many like Taylor Swift themed things, and as I saw many people say, New Orleans loves a theme party, so like they just really embraced all of
Yeah,
it,
they do.
right? If
I have like an entire section of my closet that's like a costume. Like,
but like when we talked to locals there, it was so fun to hear exactly what you're saying, Biz, of like they were all kind of like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be like so crowded and these girls are so annoying. But then what they got, like we had a couple servers almost in tears talking to us, and on TikTok there's several who do like breakdown crying, and they're like, these people are so like so kind, and they were giving out bracelets to everybody, and like just being really polite and excited and celebratory, and they threw out their own trash. Like we were exchanging friendship bracelets with police officers, with security guards, like my Uber driver, literally everybody just embraced everything that was happening. And for a few days it was just like as the world should be. And I do want to also bring up that like as they chose Eras Tour dates, especially these ones that were added on at the end, they did think about, like, there's no denying the financial impact on a city when the Eras Tour comes. And so the stats that came in were comparing to the main 4 weeks of Mardi Gras. New Orleans they generate $900 million in revenue. In the 3 days of the Eras Tour, New Orleans generated $500 million of revenue for the city. And Taylor, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Taylor makes donations to local food banks for every city that she stops in. And I believe the last count I saw was that it provided over 75,000 meals to city locals.
hold
So
the
there's,
fuck up. 500 million in 3 days. I've been
yeah,
waiting for that statistic. I
yeah.
hadn't like known where to look. I knew it was coming, but that's freaking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
500 million in 3 days.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yep.
Like like I survive Mardi Gras every year. Like I cannot even imagine. Like Katie, like that much, like that was so organized. I
Yeah.
mean, like, that completely changes my perspective of the whole experience. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that is a lot of volume.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a
Girl
lot of
Economy
volume.
is strong.
But half of Mardi Gras in 3 days.
Yep.
That's what I think a lot of people underestimate, like female audiences in some ways, and that they, like there was a comedian not so long ago who grew his following with primarily online female followers. They really loved him. They thought he was super cute and super funny. And he came out of left field all of a sudden when he got a Netflix special, and made tons of misogynistic jokes and was like, well, I don't want female audience members. I want male audience members. And I don't know if it was ego driven or what, but it's so interesting to me because you look at the results of somebody like Taylor Swift, who has cultivated a female driven audience and the basically Taylor Swift economy that has followed. And a female audience is so powerful.
Say it again for those in the back.
Yep.
And there was one quote, I'm gonna probably butcher it, but I wanted to say it because Katie mentioned something about how live music is so important to you. But there's this quote about how art is how we decorate space and music is how we decorate time. And I just love it so much. And I always think about it when you're like, I don't know why. I just really like music is just, and it's like, it's just something, I don't know, so innately and purely human that even if you like country and your friend likes rock and roll, like, is there a person alive who's like, I hate all music? I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I could have a religious experience to any genre. Katie's
I-
gonna solely collect them all on film.
Biz, you will appreciate this, but I think Katie will too. When I was 17, I had a friend who, for her birthday, her aunt surprised her with some tickets to a music event in Los Angeles. And we were like, oh, we're like going to be uptown girls, like get all dressed up to go downtown to LA. And we show up to this thing. It's like a light show set to music.
Shut up.
Y'all,
Shut
17 years
up.
old. It was Pink Floyd.
I did. I went to
was
a planetarium
not prepared.
show.
Was not in the right headspace for that kind of experience alongside an adult. It was hilarious.
I love the way the pinks faded to purple.
Yeah, probably the only sober people at that light show.
I totally not sober, but did a planetarium Pink Floyd experience.
Oh my
once.
gosh.
I bet that was magical.
It was. It was, but it was a really like rinky dink planetarium, but like the not sober helped.
Yeah.
Right. The last time I got suckered into that was a like a show. I got all excited and it ended up being like this backwoods theater, like
Ooh.
acrobatics interpretive
What?
dance. I kid you not. Shout out to my cousins, Lauren and Steph. We were there. I think we autographed each other's billfolds to like document the fact that like we had sat through the entire thing.
I'm gonna have to find a video and I'll post it in our group. I was dying watching this thing. This family found tickets to like a backwoods interpretive art, like living art performance. You know what I mean? Not dance, but living art. And
I am a tree.
and she brings her kids, and it was like traumatizing level of weird. I'm gonna have to send it to you guys because it kills me. It is so funny. Now I almost wonder if it's the same one that you were at.
I need to see this and I need this laugh today. Thank you. Thank you, Ashleigh.
You are welcome. But it's I really, when I was younger, I had female friends mostly. I was in dance and I enjoyed being around other girls, and I wouldn't have considered myself like one of the boys. But I still wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm totally a girl's girl. And now now that I'm older, I find that number one, I cherish female spaces so much. And female voices, like the people that have been mentors to me.
the people that I am inspired by, the people that are my friends. And it's just so interesting to me because things like, you know, the Taliban banning women's voices, and it seems so ridiculous. Like, why would they even bother with that? But the reality is that women talking to other women is incredibly powerful and not to the benefit of people that are trying to oppress them. Because when women talk to other women, they support them, they help them understand what is and is not okay or something they should tolerate. They share a lot of information. And I think it's one of the reasons that, like, the idea of gossiping has this really negative connotation to it, because it is primarily female, you know, people say anyways that only women are, you know, the gossipers. But what it really was is women in the office exchanging information and people not wanting them to. They don't want you to share information that Steve from information is, you know, somebody you need to look out for because he'll try to grab your legs. Or, you know, they don't want you to share that information. And it's just one of those things that, like, you become more and more aware of the more you're in female spaces. And it's heartbreaking to watch. I have a hard time reconciling that at any given time that I'm having like the best moment of my life, somewhere on the planet, somebody's having the worst moment, and vice
Yeah.
versa. It's really hard to reconcile that those things can coexist, not just in the same like year, but at the exact same time.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think society as a whole, like, yeah, totally. And like, kudos to us as a whole, and like Facebook communities, right? And like other communities like that, where, people really are vulnerable and are received with kindness. And like, that's, I think, for me, that's like what pacifies me from the living experiences, like, the, ultimate experience, the Eras tour, of that. But yeah, Ashleigh, it's really interesting. Like, and I feel like that's really a sacred space that not only needs to be protected, but also amplified. So I'm really glad that you're calling attention to it directly.
Well, and I know I
with
keep
this.
saying female dominated spaces or female driven, but as Katie pointed out, there's plenty of men, and not just like, oh, you know, gay guys that are there. There were straight men, there's dads, there's boyfriends, there's all sorts of people that are in that female dominated space, and they're welcomed into it.
I think it's really similar. I mean, it's like the female experience, right? And like being supportive of the female experience. And
Yeah.
like, that's why I think she's, besides her real estate portfolio, which, like, shout out, buy real estate and wait. Hey. But I think that that's really what she's done, is she's branded that, which is just incredible. I mean, and well deserved. I mean, like, and hard earned. I mean, she earned those stripes. Like, there's truth to every statement, and she's just a big old mixed bag of Brene Brown and Brianna and all of that shaken up and turned into good music. Love it.
Well, and like, she's taken every part of the female experience, right? Like Mean Girls and heartbreak and love, and even some of like the quote unquote crazy parts. And she's lived it all publicly and allowed people to criticize, and she's gone through it all. And then she keeps getting up. And so, like, we all go through everything she talks and sings about. Most of us do it privately. And she has done it out loud, which has made a lot of people feel really not so alone, I think. And like, she truly is like a master of lyrics. So sometimes she's able to sum up people's feelings better than they can verbalize it. And so she really has captured like the essence of being a woman, and women get solidarity from it. And I think that men get a little peek into what it's like. And then you go to the show and like, you just get to enjoy the culmination of that, of like what happens when you keep getting up, and the magic of like women feeling that way.
Yeah. And I honestly think that her receiving such harsh criticism for everything is something
Yeah.
that women relate to a lot.
Yeah.
And it is sadly a very unique female experience to be hyper criticized. And not necessarily like, oh, only men criticize me. Sometimes it is other women criticizing
For sure.
me. But that is still just something that women are so innately familiar with that I think that that is part of her appeal, that she keeps getting back up after she's criticized and she doesn't hide or try and hide the pieces people are criticizing. She
Yeah, like she's not
accepts them.
afraid. Okay, so like minor pivot. Have either of y'all seen the Martha Stewart stuff on Netflix?
Yes.
Oh my God. Katie, have you also
Icon.
seen this?
I haven't watched it yet.
Please
Okay.
watch it,
It's
Katie.
on my list. It's on my list.
Okay.
I am so in love with this woman after that documentary.
Dude, what the fuck, right?
How has she hidden how iconic she is?
What the fuck?
I don't want to ruin any of it for Katie.
I don't either. Okay, well,
Or-
don't, especially because like I'm only like halfway through and I had to stop
Oh.
it. And so, but also like okay, so in compare, oh my God, I'm so excited to see your reaction with that. Katie, get on board. Okay. So like in comparison, like Martha is very much a bitch. Like everyone knows that she's the head bitch in charge. Like perfectionism, like all of that, like is all of it. And it's so fascinating because like I don't know, the documentary just does such a good job of like showing her humanness and like the necessity of her being the asshole to get to where she is and like through the way that she navigated. And honestly, I think like the beginning of it is almost the most powerful, but the difference between like her being what she was the first billionaire or first
She's the
woman.
first woman self-made, I think, maybe just first woman billionaire, period.
Yeah, I don't know. She was like the first woman something in America.
Did not
Yeah.
like inherit the wealth, I think, is the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And to like see her still be alive, right? And have like however many decades are between her and Taylor Swift and like her as a business person and like one how not a bitch Taylor is and how good she is with like the money and doing and all of that and able to be. It's just interesting. Like I love that about her. And that's honestly the comment that I was looking to make was like, just the difference between them. And at the same time, like I haven't finished the documentary. And so I haven't like finished my own personal judgment on if it was like fully necessary for Martha, or if it was like her nature, in her nature.
It is interesting when you say like the decades difference, because the timeline in which Martha was rising to popularity is so different than what is happening in today's timeline. And there's one scene, I don't think it spoils anything, but it's just a scene of her and she's critiquing somebody in the kitchen for what knife that they're using. And it clicked with me how much she's been criticized for being harsh as a woman and as a business owner, when there's people like Gordon Ramsay who built their entire career by being as mean as they possibly could
Yeah.
be. And it's like, and I am a Gordon Ramsay fan, especially how nice he is to the kids on the kid chef thing.
Yeah.
But it is just, it's one of those things that really ties it all together. And you're like, damn, Martha, you're a cold-hearted bitch, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited to watch.
Everybody watch. Let's reconvene and chat next week about it. All the listeners.
I love this homework.
Everybody. I have a list of quotes from her that I am now living my entire life by.
Oh my God. It sounds like you have a topic. It's your turn, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
All right.
it is just the female experience. If you can, I mean, you don't have to go to the Taylor Swift tour to experience it. You can experience it by opening up and listening to the women in your life and embracing what they're saying instead of being afraid of hearing it. And just like empowering them to share, because I'll say one last thing about Taylor Swift. And I think we might have mentioned it once, like super early on when we first started the podcast, her taking that case against the DJ who sexually assaulted her,
Yeah.
taking it to court and watching her be berated in the news for doing that, and she won. He was guilty. There was a very clear photo of it, and she was so young at the time. That was so incredibly brave and also so sadly relatable for so many women. There's even a part in the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader documentary where a girl reports a photographer for touching her inappropriately, and the cameras didn't catch it, and so they don't let her do anything about it. And it's heartbreaking, because that's the reality of womanhood as well. So I just encourage everybody, get into some female dominated spaces and just embrace the difference.
Yeah. And I would say, like, if you're willing to be that open, like, go onto TikTok and reserve your, like, try to put your judgment aside for people being quote unquote silly, and watch the joy that's coming from people who are getting to experience this. And then, like, try and reason that with yourself of, like, how often do you discard things because you think they're stupid, and you're really cutting into something that makes somebody else feel a lot of joy and really confident. And then, like Ashleigh
Well-
said, like, apply that to your life.
Yeah. And how often are you losing out on joy you could experience because of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And that's that on Taylor Swift. Except probably next week I'll
Is
like
that
show
our
off my
story?
tattoo.
Yeah, next week, Katie's new tattoo and Martha Stewart.
I want you to bake something, Ashleigh.
Oh my gosh, we should all bake something.
I absolutely will bake
Sorry,
something.
I'll try.
Martha Stewart shows anybody how to be a perfectionist in the kitchen.
Biz, you can scoot down to the coffee shop and get one of those almond pastry things and pretend you baked
Almond
it.
croissant.
Yeah.
Did it do?